The alarm chirped softly at first, a polite notification that something was amiss in Bay 7. Engineer Juno Hale glanced up from her workstation, coffee mug halfway to her lips, and frowned at the blinking amber light on her console. Drone Pen Gamma, gate unsealed. She set the mug down with a sigh. The maintenance drones were usually docile things, content to recharge in their designated pens between shifts. But an open gate meant potential chaos. Drones wandering into pressurized corridors, interfering with navigation sensors, or worse, getting themselves sucked into an exhaust vent during a thruster test. Juno grabbed her toolkit and headed for the lower decks, muttering about faulty magnetic locks and budget cuts that left her doing the work of 3 engineers. The Talon's Edge was a deep space research vessel, crewed by a mix of species from across the Galactic Coalition. Humans were still the newcomers here, the scrappy upstarts who'd barely figured out FTL travel before stumbling into the wider galaxy. Most species tolerated them. Some found them amusing. A few found them deeply unsettling. Juno didn't care much about interstellar politics. She just wanted the ship systems to work properly. As she descended the accessway to Bay 7, she heard it, a series of high-pitched chittering sounds, followed by the metallic skitter of claws on deck plating. Juno froze mid-step. That wasn't a drone. She rounded the corner cautiously and stopped dead in her tracks. 2 creatures, each about the size of a large dog, covered in sleek midnight blue fur with 6 legs and tails that curved like scorpion stingers, were racing across the cargo bay floor. Their movements were erratic, frantic, predatory. They leaped and pounced, skidding on the polished deck as they chased something Juno couldn't quite see. Then she saw the red dot. A tiny crimson point of light danced across the floor, zigzagging unpredictably. The cubs, because that's what they were, juvenile Kethran huntlings, pursued it with single-minded intensity, their eyes wide and pupils dilated. One of them, slightly larger with a white patch on its chest, lunged forward and slapped both front paws down where the dot had been a heartbeat before. It looked up confused, then spotted the dot again 10 feet away and took off in a sprint. Juno's eyes followed the laser's path back to its source. Standing near the drone pen entrance, one hand casually holding a small laser pointer, was her. Well, technically it was her. Juno had just walked down here, so obviously that wasn't right. But standing there, grinning like an idiot, was her reflection in the polished hull plating. No, wait. Juno blinked and refocused. It was her own hand holding the laser pointer. She looked down. Sure enough, her left hand, apparently acting of its own accord while her conscious mind had been occupied with alarm protocols, held the slim red device she used for pointing out circuit issues during briefings. Oh no, Juno whispered. The smaller cub, darker furred and quicker, spotted her and froze. Its ears swiveled forward. 4 eyes, 2 primary, 2 secondary thermal sensors, locked onto Juno with unnerving precision. Hey there, Sen, Juno said slowly, raising her free hand in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Easy now. Sen tilted his head, considering this new variable in the hunt. Then his gaze dropped to her left hand, to the laser pointer. Don't you dare, Sen chirped urgently, and the larger cub, Core Juno remembered from the crew manifest, spun around to see what had his brother's attention. Both cubs stared at the device in her hand with the kind of intense focus usually reserved for prey animals in their final moments. Okay, Juno said carefully. Let's all stay calm. You 2 aren't supposed to be out of the habitat module. Your parents are going to be very concerned. Core took a step forward, and I'm sure this is all just a misunderstanding. Sen began to crouch, haunches coiling. And we can all just walk back to your enclosure like rational beings. Both cubs' tails began to twitch. Juno did the only thing she could think of. She clicked the laser pointer off. The red dot vanished. 2 pairs of eyes went wide with confusion. The cubs looked at the floor where their prey had been, then at each other, then back at the floor. Sen made a small, mournful sound, something between a whimper and a chirp. Juno felt an unexpected pang of guilt. They looked so disappointed. All right, she muttered. Maybe just a little longer. She clicked the pointer back on and swept it across the far wall. Both cubs exploded into motion, racing after the dot with renewed enthusiasm. Juno guided it in wide circles, figure eights, sudden stops and starts. The cubs played with absolute joy, their earlier precision giving way to clumsy tumbles and playful tackles as they competed for the prize. A low rumble echoed from the corridor behind. Her Juno turned slowly to find two fully grown Kethrans standing in the doorway. Each stood nearly 7 feet tall, their adult musculature making the cubs look like harmless toys by comparison. The female's fur bore intricate clan markings, while the male had scars across his shoulders that spoke of hunts Juno didn't want to imagine. Engineer Hale, the female, Kareth, the ship's chief biologist, said in carefully pronounced standard, "You have found our offspring." Juno glanced at the cubs, who were now wrestling with each other, the laser dot temporarily forgotten. "They were already out when I got here." "Gate malfunction?" Kareth's eyes narrowed. "The gate was functioning properly when we secured them before our shift." The male, Tikor, stepped forward and Juno instinctively backed up. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a strange sound, more like a series of coughs than human laughter, but unmistakable in its warmth. "The human plays with them," Tikor observed. "With the light prey trick." "It's just a laser pointer," Juno said weakly. They seemed bored. Kareth studied her for a long moment, then made a gesture Juno had learned meant approval among Kethrans. "Our cubs are difficult, high energy. They require enrichment we cannot always provide during work cycles. The Kethran young are taught hunting through play," Tikor added. "You have given them proper exercise." Sen and Kor, finally noticing their parents, bounded over with excited chirps. They immediately began pawing at Kareth's legs, clearly trying to explain the wonders of the mysterious red prey. Kareth looked at Juno. "Perhaps you would visit the habitat module during your off-shifts. The cubs seem to enjoy human play techniques." Juno blinked. Was she being asked to become a babysitter for alien predator cubs? Kor looked up at her with those wide, hopeful eyes. Sen chirped softly. "Yeah," Juno heard herself say. "I think I could do that." As she walked back to her quarters later, laser pointer still in hand, Juno reflected on humanity's place in the galaxy. They hadn't brought advanced weapons or revolutionary technology to the Coalition. They hadn't solved ancient mysteries or brokered impossible peace treaties. But apparently they'd brought laser pointers. And somehow, that was enough.